tonight, here we are with Chuck Glover. I'm Anna, and Rick is also here with Fred REIA. And Chuck is actually going to talk with us tonight about team-based investing, and it's about leveraging collective intelligence and pooling resources to capitalize on opportunities that might be out of reach as individual investors. And Rick, tell us a little bit more about Chuck. I know we've known him for years, but other people need to know him.
Chuck, is it true you went to William and Mary?
Yes, it's true.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Chuck's a brainiac. Let's be real here. To get into William and Mary, he's got to be super smart. But yeah, so he has been in the teaching profession for most of his career, and now he's a passionate traveler, and he lends money on the side. And so Chuck's real lot of fun to be with, and we had a nice share the love experience, and we went on a cruise together, and love traveling with him. I hope he gets to go on more. But Chuck, tell us a little bit more about yourself besides being a school teacher and a school administrator.
Okay, I'll do my screen share.
Let's do it.
We will, and then you know more than you wanted to. All right. There we go. Okay, I think that worked. I think that worked all right. So you guys let me know. Can you see my screen share, my PowerPoint?
Looking good, looking good.
Team-based investing. So first of all, I think I might have to manage some expectations here. This idea of we want to hear what he says. Now, look, I'm not much of a presenter. I'm not much of a speaker because, when I think of presenters, when I think of speakers, I think of people who have some flair, some panache, something, they're kind of, I don't know, rehearsed or practiced or something. So I'm not so much of a presenter as I am a talker. So I'm just going to kind of be talking for a little bit this evening, figuring out a little bit about me and about this team-based investing. One thing you might be thinking is like, this team-based investing, it's like, that's nothing new, right? We all know that we get out there and meet people and we do deals together, and there are other people involved in our deals. And I'm going to challenge you somewhat, I think, to think a little deeper about team-based investing, maybe to think a little different about team-based investing. So what we're going to be talking about is sort of a mindset kind of a thing, because as Allie Murphy said, changing a mindset is like unlocking a new level. And who doesn't want to go to new levels, higher levels? Well, before you answer that, we assume we all do. Maybe, maybe not. Because to change your mindset means to move, to evolve. And there are sometimes we are hesitant to give up some certain ways we think and ways we feel to move to new levels and to accept new ideas and to expand our thinking a little bit. So maybe that's a challenge about this mindset thing. We assume sometimes we operate on assumptions that don't necessarily have to be true. And we run our businesses by those. So the idea is to change your mindset, to really change, to really morph, to really evolve, is to unlock whole new levels in business. And I think many of us that's what we want to go to, new levels of business. Well, as far as this presentation this evening, if you have a vision and you're here with a focused purpose, you're already starting to think differently than you were a few minutes ago. You might be thinking, and I know when Anna started talking about, upcoming meetings about assumptions, and with David Richter with Profit First and the how to run finances in your business, and we think about the speakers. Maybe there'll be a month with somebody talking about tiny homes. Maybe there'll be another month with someone talking about land development. And some people may be looking at this schedule and thinking, well, not so important for me to be here on that night, to tune in on that night. I'm not interested in tiny homes, or I'm not really interested on assumptions or something. And that's the kind of mindset that that many people have. And the challenge here is this: tune in, come to every meeting you can come to, regardless of the topic, the subject, the speaker. Be in the room, get to the meetups, get to the meetings, be on the Zoom meetings, the Zoom calls, everywhere you can possibly be. And now we can't all be everywhere all the time, but everywhere, every chance you get, be there. Because for this reason, you may be listening to a speaker who doesn't, that has a topic you may not particularly be interested in. You're not going to invest in that area. What that speaker is going to be sharing with you, and the speaker is probably speaking because they have had some success in that particular area. They're going to be sharing with you not just about tiny homes, not just about developing raw land. If you dig deeper and think deeper, they're going to be talking to you about years of work they've done to set up processes, to set up procedures, to find ways to analyze, to find ways to progress, to find ways to network, to find ways to involve other people in their deals. And they're going to be talking to you about systems and processes. And if you're just thinking, I'm not interested in tiny homes, you may totally miss that. And you may miss the gold nugget that will elevate, that will just propel your business forward. So always tune into every meeting, everything you can. And I would suggest that by the end of this few minutes we'll be talking, you're going to be different than you are right this second. Maybe thinking differently, maybe an expanded thought, maybe another way of looking at things. Listen to the advice of many people, all the speakers, all the meetings you can get to. Listen to the advice, and then have the discipline to put into action those gold nuggets that you've gotten out of all those presentations and those meetings and so on and so forth. And when you do that, then you will be counted among the wise. I have found that when my vision, when my purpose paralleled God's purpose, the trajectory of my business just changed. My business changed, my life changed, socially it changed, spiritually it changed, financially it changed, once I was more in line with what I should be doing and not what I wanted to be doing. As a matter of fact, well, I'll get into that in a minute when I talk a little bit more about my story, but this is what this is leading up to. When I stopped focusing on my income, and by the way, why else are we in this business, right? For income. When I stopped focusing on that, my financial recovery began. And I want to tell you just a moment about my need for a financial recovery. I started giving time as well as money. And it's sort of like Zig Ziglar's philosophy. You've heard it before. I don't know if you know Zig Ziglar's or not, but if you help enough other people get what they want, you will have what you want. Well, that's the philosophy. And once you kind of start to get that into your head, it's amazing how a message can travel around the world in 2 or 3 seconds. And sometimes it takes years for it to get the last quarter of an inch. And that's kind of where I was in my journey through life, so my professional journey through life, so to speak. So Rick, to answer your question a little bit more about me. So you might say, well, we never even heard of this guy. Who is this guy anyway that he's been asked to speak to us? I'm an old school teacher. I taught school for 13 years here in the city of Richmond. And then I was a school administrator for 14 years, again, with the city, 27 years with the city of Richmond. And, all those years, I was, going to work and I love teaching, didn't necessarily love all the administrative part of it, but the kids in the classroom, that's where the action is. That's what you love to do. But became an administrator and really enjoyed working with teachers. I had a faculty of 48 teachers and loved working with them, and over the years, and saw them develop as professionals and how they helped me to develop in my leadership and in my professionalism. So I did that for 27 years, but all along, when I was in my 20s and my 30s and my 40s, I wanted to be self-employed. So several times over the decades, I got into a business opportunity here and there. I think it was three or four different business opportunities over a period of time that I got into. No smashing success. I didn't lose any money, but I didn't make much money. I didn't hit the jackpot. I wasn't financially free. You know, I wanted money. I wanted the house and I wanted the cars and I wanted all those things. And it just wasn't happening. So that's kind of where I was along the line. You know, Henry David Thoreau once wrote a description of humanity. And Henry David Thoreau's description of humanity was masses of people living lives of quiet desperation. And so many people around us fall into that category. I did for years. I wanted more, but you know, you kind of settle for and you say, well, this job isn't so bad after all. And we're doing okay. You know, we had kind of a nice house and a couple of cars and all that. So we were making a living. But then things kind of turned. I retired early from school teaching and decided I would be a consultant. Well, I was going to be a team development consultant with companies and businesses and so on. And you know, another word to describe a consultant, another word I learned is unemployed. So if you're not working, you are not making, you are unemployed. And so I had moments on and off where I'd pick up some work here and there. But again, it wasn't just an overwhelming success. But over time, not making such great financial decisions, not putting aside money for the future and so on, the job thing kind of come to an end. Finances were drying up. The income was not there. And this was over the several years ago. So we were kind of, financial pressures were kind of growing. In fact, my first exposure to real estate investing wasn't to do it, but it was to benefit from it. My first exposure to real estate investing is my home. We were in pretty dire straits. And we were going into foreclosure. So our home was in pre-foreclosure. I had gotten a letter from the bank saying, you know, we're going to foreclose on your house. Your payments are, you know, 3 months payments are due, et cetera. And a real estate investor reached out to me, come by the house, sit down and heard my story, learned about me and offered me to buy the house. And he offered me enough to pay off the rest of the existing mortgage. And plus we'd have a few $1,000s in my pocket that I could get a rental house or something. And he did. He bought my house. And I hope that he flipped the house. I hope he made $100,000 because he saved my financial, what am I trying to say? My record, my financial record, but credit and all that stuff from foreclosure and then from eventual bankruptcy. So I lost the house, lost the car. And unfortunately, with the financial pressures that were all going on, I lost the wife. So then it was me. So, but you know, that's kind of the background of my story. So the reason I say that is to bring us up to the point where I started investing in real estate. About 6 years ago, not doing well, my son, who had just started investing in real estate himself, he met a guy. So they got together and they started investing. And he said, Dad, I have a book I want you to read. It was Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. So I read the book, and about halfway, 2/3 of the way through the book, I do this head slap thing. And I'm thinking, where was this book 30, 40 years ago? You know, it made so much sense because in the meantime, I tried the stock market a little bit. In fact, I was going to write a book. The book I was going to write was this book, How I Leveraged the Stock Market to Turn $8,000 into $5,000. So obviously my venture into stock market wasn't such a great success, but I didn't have much money. One thing I did do over all those decades of all those years when I was first starting back in my late 20s, I want to start a business. I started reading these types of books. And these are all the old classics. Well, I read these books like 55 years ago. And some since then, I've reread them since then. Plus, the newer books and all over time. I did away with newspapers. I did away with TV news, and I just focused my mind on all these types of books. Like I said, a message can go around the world quickly, but it takes a long time sometimes to go the last quarter inch. And that was kind of my case. But I often think, as many times as I prayed for success in business, and I prayed for $1 million income, and I prayed for all these things back over the decades, I'm so thankful that the answer to those prayers was not yet. I truly think that when I was younger and my mindset wasn't what it needed to be, I was listening to the most popular radio station on earth. And you know what that is. You've heard this. WII-FM. What's in it for me? So that was kind of my mindset. And I really think if I had been greatly successful in any of these businesses earlier on, it may have not been a blessing. It may have been a downfall. It may have been a curse instead of a blessing. So, but that's looking back. That's connecting the dots. And we'll talk more about that later. So, but my son gave me this book, Cash Flow Quadrant. And I read it, and this was like 5-6 years ago. And I'm thinking, there's something here. And about 2 weeks after I read the book, I noticed on Facebook, there was this ad for a free real estate investor seminar. You go to this seminar, they're going to teach you how to get rich in real estate. So I went to the seminar. It was 2 hours long, and you know what the deal was. It was an upsell. They do this 2 hour and kind of give you a little information, and that, yeah, but we can give you a whole day workshop for $700, and then after that, we can give you a week workshop for $20,000. It was that kind of deal. But I did go to the 2 hour session, and they mentioned one thing that really caught my attention because it was something I could do immediately. They said, go to real estate meetings, go to meetups, the REIA meetings, the meetup type meetings, go to real estate investor meetings. So I got home, Googled it, found one, Richmond REIA, went to a meeting. Now this is a period over 3 or 4 months, because I started out thinking I'm going to be a wholesaler. So I tried that. I did that for about a week. And I said, maybe this wholesaling isn't for me. So then I thought, well, the next thing is flipping. This is what you hear when you first start. You start out wholesaling, then you do flipping. So I'm going to be a flipper. And I thought I did that for a couple of months, went out and looked at properties and all. And I looked at a house and lost $2,500. So I thought to myself, maybe this flipping thing isn't for me. Chasing contractors around, cutting boards and doing all this drywall stuff. And so I went to this meetup, and there were about 70 investors in the room. And the leader of the meetup, he says, welcome everybody to the meeting. Let's see who's here tonight. How many flippers do we have? Lots of hands go up all over the room. How many buy and hold investors? Lots of hands go up all over the room. How many money lenders do we have? One hand goes up. Not mine. This was somebody else's. And I thought to myself, with all these people doing these other things and only one person lending money, maybe that's what I should think about, is being a money lender. Well, after the meeting, everybody flocked to this guy and got his card. And after the smoke cleared, I went up to him, got his card too. Took him out to lunch. A few days later, took him and his wife out to lunch. And he spent, for the price of a couple of barbecues, he spent like 2 hours with me, just sharing and asking me tough questions. Well, when you sit up alone, how do you do this and that? And I said, I don't have a clue. I've never done this before. And he just shared forms and paperworks and processes, just shared for 2.5 hours with me. And that set the course of my investing career right there. This is Fred and Marie Krause. And Rick Thompson also was someone I could call on and get information. Walk with the wise and become wise, like we talked about earlier. Then have the discipline to put into place those things you've learned. and correct your path. Walk and align your path with the Lord's, and things have the power to change. Not overnight, and it's not easy. There's no quick road. There's, the elevator to the top is broken. You have to take the stairs, and it's a long walk. But so now I'm free. Now I'm in 5 years, I'm financially free. And people say, well, Chuck, you're an old guy. I'm 75 years old. I'm supposed to be free, right? I'm supposed to be retired. Hey, a lot of retired people aren't free. I was looking at the prospect 6 years ago that I was going to be the elderly guy at Walmart greeting customers, or I was going to be work for, I don't know, a pizza delivery or something like that, until I couldn't drive, or until I couldn't stand up long enough to be a greeter anymore because my legs swelling up, or some physical thing happening later on in life. That was my outlook on life. What has real estate investing done for me? I say free. I'm free. Suffocate the credit card debt we had. We were paying like $400 a month in interest on credit cards. Foolishness. The consequences of that foolishness, I don't have to deal with it anymore. The prospect of being dependent on my children, that weighed heavily on my mind. Talk about motivation. Heavily on my mind. Getting rid of that sparsity mindset and thinking in terms of an abundance mindset. So what does it take to do that? What does it take to be financially free, no matter how long it takes? And people have said to me, wow, Chuck, you did all that in like 4.5 years? No, I correct them quickly. It took 55 years. I just hope you're a quicker learner and a better listener, and put into action those things you read and those things you learn and those things you hear much quicker than I do with my selfish mindset, with my sparsity mindset. I have a mindset of abundance, a mindset there's plenty for everybody, a mindset of cooperation and collaboration and not competition. So what does it take? Do your best, right? You've heard that. Just give it your best. No, you don't do your best. You do everything that it takes, everything that's required. Now, wait a minute. If I do my best, this is where the team-based investing comes in. If your best isn't getting you to that next milestone, then what do? You look for partnerships. You look for connections. You look to other people to assist, to guide, to direct, to leverage, and you leverage each other because you're helping them, they're helping you. Do whatever it takes. Make the connections you need to. If it were easy, there'd be no Anna Jenkins. You don't think Anna's gone through some bumps and times and maybe still be? There would be no Rick Banos. Excuse me, I'm sorry. If it were easy, these people wouldn't be in the leadership positions they're in right this second, leading this Fredericksburg REIA. They wouldn't be here. They would still be doing whatever that lifestyle that doesn't take you places too much. They would still be doing that living those lives of quiet desperation. So I'm going to ask you to do something for yourself right now. The phrase, if it were easy, there'd be no, Anna Jenkins. If it were easy, there'd be no Rick Banos. If it were easy, there'd be no Chuck Glover. I wouldn't be here. This can be a tough journey. It can be an exciting journey. And in fact, the fact that it's tough is the good news. It's the good news because it's the tough part that weeds out people. The people who want to, or the people who wish, they kind of fall by the wayside. It's the people who can deal with the toughness and move forward and make the connections needed to make and continue to move forward. So read that sentence and put your name in there. If it were easy, there'd be no. Do it out loud right now. Unmute.
Yeah, if it were easy, there'd be no gym.
Keep it going. Who else? Everybody.
If it were easy, there'd be no Thomas.
Amen. Go ahead. Keep it going. Everybody.
If it were easy, there'd be no Anna Jenkins or Fred REIA or Home Dream Realty.
If it were easy, there'd be no Suzanne and Charlie.
And Marie William Properties.
Is that every? I'm not counting. Is that everybody? Come on.
If it were easy, there'd be no Josh.
Yeah, if it were easy, there would be no anyone that right now is in that meeting.
Think about this. Right now, there are 50 other people. Okay, I won't exaggerate. Let's say 20 other people that could be in this Zoom session right now. And they probably thought, it's been a long day. I'm kind of tired. I'll catch up next month. And what if there's a nugget that's shared tonight that changes your business, that moves you in the direction of another level? You are here. You, by being here, even though you're tired and you've had a long day and you'd like to sit back in that easy chair, you are a massive achiever. You, if it were easy, there'd be no you here this evening. Think about this. You see on your screen, we've seen all these pictures when we were kids. You put your pencil on the paper, you find number 1 and you draw a line to number 2 and then number 3, and you draw lines and connect all the dots, right? Right now, when you look at this page filled of dots, you don't know what it is. It's just a bunch of dots. Think about your life, the events that have happened in your life, the trials, the tribulations, the easy times, the good times, the fun times, the challenges, the decisions. Do I go this way or this way in life? All of those situations, incidences, events, results of your own personal decisions, they're dots. They're bunches of dots. And we don't see the big picture. Give me an example. What if that one night, that one meeting where I met Fred and Marie Krause, the one lender in the room, what if I had decided not to go to that meeting that night? What if I had not gone to another meeting where I met Rick Thompson? What if I hadn't gone there? Now there's another dot to this I want to fill you in now. After I decided I was going to become a lender, you see, there was one kind of big obstacle I was facing. I didn't have any money. 3 or 4 months later, I went to another of these REIA meetings, and the speaker that night was Dorsey Botiford. Many of you probably haven't heard of her. She's her and her father are lenders. Her father's been a lender for like 40-something years. Down in Mississippi or somewhere down in there, but very well known in the investing. Dorsey Botiford was the speaker, and she talked about this technique, this new technique I'd never heard of before, called wrap lending. And the idea of wrap lending is if you have a little bit of money, you can still be a lender. Just find somebody else who has a lot of money who can partner with you, and you can lend together, and you can do big loans with just a little bit of money, as long as you have that partnership with someone else who has some extra cash. What if I hadn't have been in that room that night? Because that's the only speaker I've ever heard talk about wrap lending, other than till I started doing it. And I'm sure there are other people out there talking about it. I just haven't heard them. What if I hadn't have been there that night? Maybe, hopefully, look, fingers crossed, right? Tonight might be the night. What if you hadn't been on this Zoom call? So let's go back to our connected dots. So all of these dots are here. We don't know what the picture looks like, but God does. God connects the dots. And when my purpose aligned with his purpose, then I could start to see. Then it kind of come into focus. Yes, when you look back on it, now we see the picture. So my life was 2 bunny rabbits and a deer, right? No, the the picture of my life, I mean, different people's pictures are going to turn out different ways, right? But the picture of my life right now is I'm that ordinary guy, that old guy, the granddaddy, the guy who made some poor financial decisions. And now I'm living the life I've been dreaming of for decades. I've been dreaming of this style of life. And Rick mentioned traveling. I've always wanted to travel, and never, because of my poor handling of finances, have had the means to do it. But now I'm enjoying it, and still running a lending business, because as long as you have a computer, you can do that from anywhere in the world. But the opportunities I've had to travel, I've done some traveling with an organization called Chair the Love. That's a CHAIR. They distribute wheelchairs to indigent populations in third world countries all over the world. In fact, this November, last of October and the 1st of November, this coming November, I'll be in Nicaragua. Anna, you mentioned a cruise in February. The one in August coming up just next month, just in about 4 weeks, to Alaska. So I'll be there. I've never been to Alaska before. I get to go to Alaska.
You're going on it?
Yeah.
So cool.
Well, very cool. Very cool.
I'll be there so we can hang out. See, that's the thing about being in the room, because when you go on these things with investors, you never know what opportunities are going to come, who you're going to meet, what discussions, what nuggets you're going to pick up, what connections you're going to make. This is the way to make them. Yeah, it's an expense involved. All I can say is the expenses I've incurred going to deal maker workshops for 3 days, and Alabama for 3 days, and Indiana for 3 or 4 days to these workshops, and Orlando, Florida to a lender's workshop, have paid off handsomely. I'll leave that at that. But there's just opportunities all around us, and so on. But now getting to this point about networking, I don't like the word networking. Team-based investing, and that's where this is the deeper dive, because a lot of people, when we think of team-based investing, you may have thought about it yourself when we first started. It's networking. No. Look, I don't even want to use that word anymore. And the reason is I don't like the word networking because of that little word right in the middle. Work. I'm not crazy about working. I want to relax. I've been working for decades. That's that season of life to relax, man, and do things I enjoy and love. So I don't want to be working. What I want to do is think connecting. Connecting is getting past the business card mentality. We think of going to a networking event, sharing business cards with everybody, come home with a collection of business cards, putting them in my contacts, and then what? Then you have 3,000 people in your contacts, and you may actually be in touch with 10 of them or something. Okay, whatever. You get the idea, right? There are people in your contacts you wouldn't even know if you saw them. Connect. Connecting is it's more than the business card. It's invite other investors, people that you want to potentially do business with, you want to learn from, invite them out to lunch, just like I did with Fred Marie. Invite them out to coffee or something and pay for it. Look, bite the bullet and pay for it. For $15, for $20 with Fred Marie for barbecue lunches, he opened up the whole entire world of investing possibilities to me. And I don't know how to repay that. But think connecting, think of really spending a little time with people above and beyond the meetup meetings and really get to know them. What do I mean when I say connecting? Connecting people with people. You connect people with other people, connect people with ideas, connect people with opportunities. You see, that's where moving past the what's in it for me attitude comes in. My idea of connecting used to be to meet people who can help me out. My idea of connecting now is to meet people that I can provide a way to grow their wealth. My purpose for connecting is to grow your wealth. That's the reason I'm here tonight, to grow your wealth, to do something that will enable that to happen, say something or whatever. So that connecting is much deeper. And this is my formula I've come up with, this formula for massive achievement. If you want to achieve above and beyond, bigger, more than just a little bit or normal or average achievement, massive achievement. This is the formula to do it. OPM, probably most of you know what OPM stands for. We hear that a lot. Other people's money. This is all about leveraging and being leveraged. Other people's money plus other people's resources. So there are people who have things you can use other than money, like heavy equipment, like a certain certification or a license to do something, like a real estate agent to check comps for you or something like that. You have resources other people may not have that they could leverage in return. OPKA is other people's knowledge applied. Notice the A is an exponent. It multiplies the knowledge. Knowledge in and of itself is not power. I'll give you an example. I know how to lose weight, and I'm overweight. What good has that knowledge done for me? When I apply that knowledge, and I tell you that in the past 3 weeks, I've lost 7 pounds, then you say, yeah, Chuck, go get it, man. That's great. And you applaud me. Knowledge applied is power. Times other people's time and multiplied by other people's talent. So other people's money, resources, knowledge applied, time, talent, minus, notice the E at near the end there, minus your excuses. Get rid of excuses. That just takes away from everything. And that's what equals massive achievement. Connections lead to relationships more so than just a business card. Relationships lead to net worth. And you've heard the expression, your network is your net worth. Powerful expression. But Jim Ingersoll says relationships lead to net worth, and even better, to friendships. That's when you're starting to get to the essence of building a massively large business, achieving on a massive level when you have that deeper type of connections. Now, we have a lot of ways of shooting ourselves in the foot. This is one example I've thrown on the screen, introvert versus extrovert. This is an example of those self-limiting beliefs that we put in our way. You know, the minus E for excuses. These are some types of excuses. Well, think about this. If you consider yourself an introvert, think about your mindset when it comes to going to a networking meeting, a connecting meeting. Oh, I have to meet other people. Oh man, I've got to go shake their hand, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that. The pressure is on you. You're feeling in a negative state of mind, self-defeating. Think about if you're an extrovert. Now you're putting pressure on yourself. You feel like you got to go in this room and meet every single person. There's 60 people in a room and you have to meet them all. You got to hand out business cards to everyone, shake everyone's hands. You're just putting so much on yourself. Why not just walk into a room and decide to relax and enjoy the meeting? The strongest introvert wants to make connections. The strongest extrovert enjoys some private moments, some downtime, some relaxing time. So the truth of the matter is there are very few introverts or extroverts. Most of us are just somewhere in between. Some of us enjoy socializing a little more than others, some a little less. That doesn't make us introvert or extrovert. It's either this or that. Relax and enjoy and forget these terms. Just hang out, step up. When you go to a function, an event or something, just step up and step in. A little group of people talking, just step into the group. You don't have to say anything, just step into it. Successful investors, experienced investors, they want to meet you because we think, well, who am I to intervene or intrude? I want to meet you. If I'm at a meeting, I want you to step in and just be there. I'll say hi to you if you don't want to say hi to me. I want to know you better, and I want to meet you, and I want to see how I can help you grow your wealth. And at the same time, you have access to knowledge, talents, resources, experiences that I could leverage as well. So take the pressure off. You don't have to meet everyone. Just meet someone. And then maybe a few days later, see if you can hook up with them and just enjoy a visit. Just have a little chat. So I mentioned earlier, I didn't have much money to start with. I only had a few $1,000s. You know how they say, don't invest what you can't afford to lose? I couldn't afford to lose a penny. So every penny I invested, I couldn't afford to lose. I am just blessed that I haven't lost and I didn't lose. But the hardest part of turning $5,000 or any amount you want to put into the blank there into $1 million is this: believing you can, finding a way. So if you're asking an example, if you're asking, how can I, or I don't know how, stop right there and ask a different question. Ask, who do I know that does know? Who do I know? Who can? You know the book, Who, Not How? You don't even have to read the book. That title itself will change your life. Who, not how. Believe you can. Meet people who can assist you in getting there and to whom you can assist them in getting there at all. Be that investor with whom others want to connect. So what makes somebody connectable? Let's look at this little, I'm going to be quiet for a minute. I'm listening for sighs of relief. I don't hear any. You must be on mute. And what I want you to do is read this paragraph. And wherever you see a blank, put your name in that blank. Go. So tell me when you're finished.
Good stuff. All done.
Okay, someone's done.
Very familiar.
So now
I'm done.
Now I'm going to read.
But I've got to cross out a few of these. I got to work on a lot of these.
We're going to get
sorry,
there.
Chuck.
We're going to get there. Understand nobody's perfect. So Rick, that's okay. I'm going to read this with my name in it. Chuck is patient. Chuck is kind. Chuck does not envy. Chuck does not boast. Chuck is not proud. Chuck does not dishonor others. Chuck is not self-seeking, etc., etc. The question is this: if all those things are true, would I want to be the type of person with whom you'd do business? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, definitely. You are that type of person.
Pardon? Go ahead.
You are that type of person.
Hey, look, I'm going to go with Rick now. Nobody's perfect. The idea of this is, and I hope you do a screenshot or something. Well, I can actually tell you where to find it. Anna, you already know. I can tell you where to find it so you can plug your name into it. But this is a goal to shoot for. It's always striving to meet this standard. If I can connect with me, I have to be honest with me. I have to connect with me first before other people are going to want to connect with me, because sooner or later, my fakeness is going to come out. Sooner or later, what did Lincoln or somebody say? I don't know. I can fool some of the people all the time, or all the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time, whatever it was. It'll come out sooner or later if this isn't me. So this is the gold standard to shoot for. Be the investor other people want to invest with. This says it all to me. This, as many of you may recognize, the word that goes in the blank is actually the word love. Love is patient, love is kind, etc., etc. And this comes from the Bible, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 3 through 5, I think, 3 through 4, 3 through 6. So it's in the Bible, so you can look it up anytime and just take out the word love and plug your name in there and say, how am I doing? Now, going back to your comment, Rick, because I certainly agree on my part too, it gives us something to shoot for. So if I have a problem with does not dishonor others, let's say I have a tendency to give those little jabs, those little cutting remarks on occasion, because I think it's funny, right? Or I might have a tendency to gossip because it helps me feel better. This is the gold standard on your screen right now. I strive to these standards. I eliminate the cutting remarks, eliminate the gossip, eliminate the grudge holding, eliminate the pride and the boasting, eliminate all that. And I certainly, when I talk about, well, I've been blessed through real estate, now I'm financially independent, financially free, it's not my doing. God connected the dots. He's the one that directs the path. And well, okay, it's not a sermon. I won't get into that. Let's move on. So wrap lending is what did it for me. Now, in keeping with this notion of helping other people, I started the basics of wrap lending class. I've got so many people saying, how did you do it? How does this wrap lending work? I started a class. It's a 2-hour Zoom session, and you can do the little code thing, QR code, and it'll take you to the website. That's where you're registered for it. $269, 2-hour Zoom session. But we go over the basics of wrap lending, exactly how I did it. We use actual loans. There are numbers and examples of how we go through the process. I'll just throw that out there in case anybody's interested. But the next one is October 7th. Never, now this goes back to the mindset thing, never hold a thought that weakens you. So the minute you think, well, I'm not so good at, stop. Think of what you are good at. Think of how you can get better at, like meeting people, remembering, remembering names. I'm not so good at remembering names. Stop right there. That's a weakening thought. The thought to hold is, I'm going to practice remembering names. I'm going to learn a strategy to help me remember names. Hold only thoughts that strengthen you. So what's going to make you stronger? Those are the thoughts. Those are the thoughts to hold. So eliminate, when you start to think I'm not this or I can't, stop right there. Transfer it to a thought that strengthens you, something, an action you're going to take to improve. The reason I chose this picture, by the way, this is from a group of children in Africa, in Uganda, and they're playing tug of war. Now, if I were to ask you, what do you do to play tug of war? Your first response might be, well, we get us a rope, and then we get more kids and stuff like that. These kids are playing tug of war, and I don't know if you notice or not, they don't have a rope. Yet they're still playing tug of war. Hold only thoughts that strengthen you. Find a way to do it. Empower yourself. They're just holding hands and each other. And look at their faces, having a blast. And I took a picture when I was in Kenya for 3 weeks last month. And I saw a little girl, and some of you all are so much younger than me, you won't relate to this. She was playing jacks. Jacks, when we used to play it as a kid, you had a little teeny rubber ball you hold in your hand, and you had these little pointy things, these little things you lay on the ground, and you bounce the ball in the air on the ground one time and catch it. And while the ball's bouncing, you grab a jack, and then you toss the ball and it bounces and you grab 2 jacks, and you toss the ball and grab 3 jacks. She didn't have any jacks, and she didn't have a ball. She was holding a pebble in her hand and had several pebbles laying on the ground. She tossed the pebble in the air, scoop up a pebble, and then catch the other pebble. And then 2 pebbles, and then 3 pebbles. She had no jacks, and yet she was playing jacks with little pebbles. Anyway, hold only thoughts that strengthen you. Why? Because who wants to lend to an investor that doesn't have confidence? True confidence, not false confidence. False confidence is just a pride thing. That's a boasting thing and a braggadocio thing. Confidence, an honest to goodness confidence. It comes through connections, and connections through confidence. The more confident you are, the more likely you are to make some really strong connections. Like if I told you I'm looking for a loan, and I think this is a pretty good deal, and I'm hoping that we can make some money on it, how quick would you be to lend me money?
Super quick.
Interesting. I might hit you up for a loan, Rick, because I want somebody who's saying this is a great deal and this is why it's a great deal. Here are the numbers. The numbers add up. This is gonna make us some money. That's the investor I want to loan to, the confident investor. And ask questions. Questions lead to connections. Think about this. If you ever ask somebody a question, somebody in a meeting, I've been in meetings before and I'll say, are there any questions? And I might say, Sarah, do you have any questions? Well, I don't know enough to have a question. Boom, right there tells me that person has no vision, has no focus. You don't even have a question. I mean, if you show up at a meeting, you can think of a question like, what are you talking about? That's a question. Find some kind of question. Questions lead to connections, because if you don't know what questions to ask, you don't have a clear vision. And if you don't have a clear vision, you won't know with whom to connect. I decided I wanted to be a lender. Boom, I knew who I needed to connect with. Rick Thompson, Shara Gregory, Fred Marie Krause, Brian Rhodes, and Tim Maloney, and the list goes on and on, a number of others. And I knew who I needed to connect with once you have that vision. So if you're thinking, I don't know what to ask, stop at a thought that weakens you. A thought that strengthens you is ask a question that's going to take you somewhere, that's going to give you some type of insight. And you do these things, eliminate the self-defeating, self-limiting thoughts, the weak thoughts, replace them with thoughts of strength, thoughts of encouragement, thoughts of sharing your resources with others, helping other people to grow their wealth, and in turn, your wealth will benefit. Then the places you go, you'll be seeing great sights. I love this quote from The Places You'll Go by Dr. Seuss. You'll join the high flyers who soar to high heights.
Awesome.
Great job, Chuck.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Chuck.
Wonderful.
Inspiring.
Well, I hope so. That's the idea, is for you to have take away something from this evening that's going to propel you to massive achievement.
I've got a page full
Well,
of notes.
Does anyone have any questions?
Can we adopt you?
What did you say, Suzanne?
Can we adopt Chuck?
Oh, you got the
Totally.
t-shirt on. I just noticed that.
Oh, cool.
Very cool.
Yeah,
That's
I've
so
got it
cool.
on speaker view now, and so I just noticed that you've got the t-shirt on. Very cool.
Nice, Suzanne. That's
Since
awesome.
since she has it on, if you go to the website over that QR code thing, if you go to the website, you can sign up for the wrap lending class, and you can buy a t-shirt.
Very cool.
Awesome.
did.
Very cool.
Charlie did.
Very cool.
But the whole idea of that shirt is because I sell them at cost. By the time they're shipping all, I think I come out with $1.50. But the reason for the shirt, the reason to even do that is to encourage other people to share that thought, to plant that seed, to share that thought, because it's a discussion starter. People say, what is that about?
Right. It's a long equation.
And this is how you can achieve massive achievement.
Very cool.
So, thanks for having me.
Definitely, Chuck. Definitely.
Chuck, you know what I find most valuable
What's that?
is the story of your journey and where you started out. When Charlie and I started out about 5 years ago, the people we were in the room with seemed to be very successful, seemed to be very wealthy, seemed to know everybody. And I felt, I don't know if Charlie felt that way. He's sitting next to me on his own computer. I felt like, where do we begin? How do we begin? How do we get from here to where they are at our age? And
You young whippersnappers.
golly gee. But the more I hear stories like yours, from people who really just came from, you know, not the same place where you are now, the more human people become, and the more motivating it is, because we hear stories like yours and say, well, if they started out where they were and they got to here, I definitely can do that. And it really helps. It inspires, it builds, it gives me, probably other people, confidence. And I just find hearing people's personal stories to be the most valuable. Yes, you've got tools and techniques and know-how and all that kind of stuff, but just that the struggle that you and people go through, people who have some, you know, stories, kind of like-minded stories, you say, okay, well, you don't have to start out young and rich and wealthy and knowing everybody and knowing everything.
No, everybody starts from the beginning.
Yeah.
Everybody does. I see Sam Ricky is on the call as well, and I can't say enough about her and her father. They're incredible investors. I mean, if you ever get a chance to chat with them, meet with them on a cruise or on an outing or something, they are wonderful people to meet.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we're so happy to have you. Definitely.